Every town has a dark side, hidden in the shadows of its past. Words like cursed and haunted often get tossed around. We tend to associate the supernatural with old houses, abandoned buildings, or even creepy dolls, objects that might host restless spirits or lurking poltergeists. Sometimes these tales are intriguing, other times terrifying, but dig deeply enough and you'll find logical explanations for most of them. However, there's one place buried deep in the southern United States where logic fails. No amount of reasoning can unravel the mysteries surrounding Lake Lanier in Georgia. Created nearly 70 years ago, this sprawling, man-made lake has claimed close to 1,000 lives. It's a foreboding place where tragic accidents and eerie disappearances continue to unfold, each story stranger than the last. When you start uncovering what lies beneath its waters, the mounting tales of tragedy and bizarre phenomena begin to make an unsettling kind of sense. Welcome back to this week's episode of I'm Mehedi, and today we're diving into the haunting stories that have earned Lake Lanier its reputation as the most cursed lake in America. With countless reports of ghostly encounters and mysterious accidents, Lanier's waters are said to be among the most haunted in the country. So join me as we head down to Georgia and explore the chilling mysteries surrounding Lake Lanier. Just an hour north of Atlanta, Lake Lanier spans more than 500 square miles, its shoreline stretching over 1,000 miles. Unlike most natural bodies of water, Lake Lanier was engineered in the 1940s, and it holds a peculiar and dark history. Before the lake was created, this region was home to vibrant communities with rich lands that had thrived for generations. Towns like Castleberry Bottom and Oscarville dotted the landscape, supporting hundreds of farming families, many of whom were black, deeply rooted in the area. But in the 1950s, the U.S. government had other plans. To support the expanding population in Atlanta, they saw an opportunity to create a reservoir by damming the Chattahoochee River, flooding these communities in the process. This man-made lake would serve as a sustainable source of water and power for the future. The government began buying out the landowners, paying prices that many felt were far from fair. Families who had called these lands home for generations had no choice but to sell. In 1948, Henry Shadburn, an 81-year-old farmer, was the first to sell his 100-acre property for just $4,100. Today, land like that would be worth millions, yet Henry's story wasn't unique. Most families struggled to put a price on their memories, heritage, and the emotional ties they had to the land. The sense of loss and anger was palpable. While some accepted the government's offers, many others were forced to watch as their communities disappeared underwater. By 1956, roughly 700 families had sold a total of 56,000 acres, and the Buford Dam was completed. The waters rose, drowning not only the land but also generations of memories and history as Lake Lanier was born. At first glance, Lake Lanier might appear picturesque, but beneath the serene surface lies a darker reality. Before the flooding, the Army Corps of Engineers tried to clear out structures that might pose hazards to boaters and swimmers. Barns, homes, and even entire buildings were demolished and removed. Yet not everything was cleared out. In a cost-saving move, the government chose to submerge Oscarville rather than dismantle it. So even today, remnants of homes, churches, and graveyards lie below. While they attempted to relocate marked graves, officials admitted that some might have been left behind. And even in cases where tombstones were moved, the bodies often remained. Today, with homes, cemeteries, and entire communities preserved beneath its waters, many believe Lake Lanier is haunted by the souls left behind. The frequent mysterious accidents and disappearances only deepen its reputation as the most cursed lake in America. Strange figures appearing in the water, unexplained accidents, cars veering out of control, and boats crashing into invisible obstacles. These eerie events have all been attributed to restless spirits trapped beneath Lake Lanier. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, there's no denying that Lake Lanier ranks as one of the deadliest bodies of water in the United States. Over its history, the lake has claimed more than 700 lives, a number that far exceeds what would be expected by accident statistics alone. For many, the origins of these allegedly restless spirits trace back to the long-lost town of Oscarville and its troubled history. In 1912, tragedy struck when an 18-year-old girl named May Crow was found brutally attacked in the woods, struck in the head with a rock and left injured. The case quickly spiraled into darkness as 5 black teenagers from the area were accused of the crime and tried by an all-white jury, despite a lack of conclusive evidence. Rob Edwards, one of the accused, was immediately lynched in the town square. 16-year-old Ernest Knox, another of the accused, was coerced into a confession under threat, a mock hanging staged by the community to force his admission. Since then, Lake Lanier's sinister reputation has only intensified. In addition to the flooding of an entire town, Lake Lanier has continued to claim lives, with a disturbing trend of fatal incidents that seem to increase every year. Between 1994 and October 2020, approximately 203 deaths were recorded from drownings and boating accidents. Many people believe that Lake Lanier stands as a crossroads of supernatural and real-world dangers, drawing both locals and experts into its mysteries. One of those experts is Buck Buchanan, a seasoned diver who has spent a lifetime exploring the lake. In a 2017 interview, he recounted unsettling experiences while diving, reaching out into the inky darkness only to feel what seemed like human body parts. He described the sensation as rubbing against human limbs that were unresponsive and frozen, yet palpable. But the most notorious tale surrounding Lake Lanier is the tragic story of Susie Roberts and her friend Delia Young. On April 16, 1958, the two women were driving in Susie's Ford sedan after filling up at a gas station. Without paying, they headed toward Dawsonville, where they planned to party at the Three Gables Roadhouse. They would never arrive. Somewhere along Jerry Jackson Bridge, Susie lost control of the car, which careened off the road and plunged into the lake, sinking beneath the waters for decades. 18 months later, near the bridge, a fisherman stumbled upon a decomposed body floating on the surface. Bloated and disfigured, the body had lost 2 toes from its left foot and both hands, likely ravaged by fish or the harsh underwater environment. While medical examiners were unable to identify the individual with certainty, locals believed the remains belonged to Delia Young. Strangely, sightings of Delia on State Route 53 were reported by motorists, reinforcing the eerie association between Lake Lanier and the paranormal. Lake Lanier's tragic past and unexplained happenings continue to baffle experts and captivate ghost hunters, as chilling stories and disturbing encounters echo beneath its deceptively calm waters. Long before her body was discovered in Lake Lanier, rumors circulated about a ghostly figure wandering near the lake, appearing lost and dressed in a blue gown, the same dress Delia Young wore the night she vanished. Locals spoke of a spectral woman, hands missing, aimlessly seeking a path no one could show her. Known as the Lady of the Lake, her spirit became legend, with witnesses periodically claiming to see her walking along the shore, trapped in her search. In 1990, these tales gained eerie confirmation when repairs on the old Jerry Jackson Bridge revealed a corroded Ford buried in the lake bed. Inside were the skeletal remains of Susie Roberts, with dental records finally verifying her identity. Lake Lanier's grim legacy includes more than tragic accidents. Boaters report striking unseen obstacles, yet underwater scans reveal no hazards. Swimmers, even strong and experienced, have drowned mysteriously close to shore. Survivors of near drownings recount being dragged downward by invisible hands gripping them, pulling them into the darkness before they manage to escape. On June 16, 2012, Lake Lanier drew national attention after Jake and Griffin Prince, aged 9 and 13, were killed in a horrific collision. They were on a pontoon ride with family when, around 10:30 p.m., a speeding boat crashed into them. Jake's body was recovered soon after, but it took 9 agonizing days to find Griffin, 113 feet below the surface. Only days before, 11-year-old Kyle Glover, son of singer Usher's ex-girlfriend, was fatally struck by a jet ski while tubing. In these cases, human error played a tragic role, with the boat operator in Jake and Griffin's accident found under the influence and Kyle's experienced uncle accidentally colliding with him on the water. Yet many Lake Lanier deaths remain unexplained. In January 2015, 25-year-old Kelly Nash vanished from his Buford home near the lake. At 3 a.m., his girlfriend Jessica awoke to see him coughing in the living room, suffering from chronic sinus issues. Kelly told her he'd see a doctor and left the house an hour later but never returned. His wallet, keys, and truck were untouched. A month later, fishermen discovered Kelly's decomposed body in Lake Lanier, bearing a gunshot wound to the head. Although his cause of death was ruled a drowning, how or why he ended up in the lake is still a mystery. The unexplained deaths continued in August 2012, with the disappearance of 16-year-old Hannah Truelove from Gainesville. After her body was discovered in a stream near Lake Lanier, it was determined she had been stabbed multiple times. Days before her death, Hannah tweeted about a stalker following her, making her feel unsafe. Yet investigators found no witnesses who could confirm anyone suspicious around her. Her case remains unsolved, shrouded in questions. Lake Lanier's reputation as a cursed place endured through to September 2023, when 23-year-old Gabri Alexander Young tragically drowned after slipping from a dock. Only weeks earlier, 24-year-old Edgar Martinez leaped into the lake from his family's dock and drowned despite rescue attempts. A neighbor who tried to pull him out described a strange, electric-like vibration coming from the water. In the face of these chilling stories, Lake Lanier remains a destination for the brave and the curious. With its history and its mysteries, the lake continues to both captivate and terrify, leaving visitors and locals alike wondering if the Lady of the Lake and the spirits of Oscarville still linger beneath the water's surface. The haunting reputation of Lake Lanier was reinforced by the tragic electrocution of Edgar Martinez in its waters. His death marked the 8th fatal accident in just 8 months, a reminder of the lake's dark legacy. However, one of the most horrific incidents tied to Lake Lanier dates back to Christmas Day, 1964, when a tragic accident claimed the lives of 7 members of the Brown and Rogers families. This heartbreaking event involved 4 adults and 7 children, all from Gainesville, who shared a home. Their day had started with Christmas preparations, and around 1 p.m., they decided to drive to a nearby orchard to gather apples for a holiday pie. As the family crossed the 2-mile bridge on Highway 14, the driver lost control of their vehicle, reportedly due to heavy drinking earlier in the day. The crash was catastrophic. The car broke through the guardrail, smashed into a utility pole, splitting it in two, and the vehicle plunged into the lake's depths. Martha McConnell later testified that her stepfather, one of the first on the scene, dove into the icy water in a desperate attempt to save those trapped. He recalled seeing what he initially thought was a doll, only to realize in horror that it was one of the children. Rescuers arriving on the scene struggled in the murky, near-zero visibility water, barely able to see the outline of the vehicle 30 feet below. Only 4 of the 11 passengers survived, 2 adults and 2 children. The remaining 7 became part of Lake Lanier's tragic legacy, adding to the countless souls that seem forever bound to its depths. The lake's death toll has consistently outpaced national averages for similar bodies of water. While some attribute this solely to Lake Lanier's popularity, with nearly 12 million annual visitors drawn to its resorts, hotels, and recreation spots, others suspect something more sinister lies beneath its inviting surface. The lake's creation was, after all, born out of necessity, aimed at flood control, but has since become an economic powerhouse for the area. Yet, despite the logic of high visitor numbers and increased accident rates, the sheer frequency and mysterious nature of these incidents are difficult to ignore. Whether due to hidden hazards or something beyond explanation, Lake Lanier remains an enigmatic force cloaked in tales of restless spirits and tragic history. Its legacy endures, making it the most haunted lake in the United States. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Join Us next week as we dive into more chilling, strange, and mysterious tales from across the nation. Who knows, maybe we'll visit your town next.